1. Introduction. My name is Jazz. This is my story. It starts in a very big house. People call it a mansion. I work there as a maid. My family needed money. My mother was sick and we had many bills to pay. So I took this job. It was not my dream, but it was important. The house belongs to a rich man, Mr. Carl. He is the CEO of a very big company. I saw his picture online before I started. He looked serious and strong, a powerful man. The mansion was huge. It had more rooms than I could count. The floors were very shiny, like a mirror. The windows were very tall, reaching high up to the ceiling. I was afraid to touch anything because everything looked very expensive. I felt like a small person in a very big, rich world. It was a place of luxury, far from my simple life. I was just a tiny part of this large, grand machine. On my first day, I saw Mr. Carl in person. He was taller than I thought. He wore a dark suit and his hair was black. He walked past me in the long hallway. He did not look at me at all. He was talking on his phone about business, about millions of dollars. His voice was deep and strong. He seemed like a king in his own castle. I felt like a small mouse, almost invisible to him. He was the sun, and I was just a shadow. My job was to be quiet and unseen. I cleaned the rooms when Mr. Carl was not there. I made sure everything was perfect, from the polished tables to the clean windows. Mrs. Gable, the head housekeeper, was very strict. She always said, "No mistakes, Jazz. Mr. Carl likes things quiet and clean." So I worked very hard every day. I stayed quiet and I kept everything clean. I never thought Mr. Carl would even know my name. My life in the mansion began like this, with me as a silent worker, always in the background. I cleaned many rooms, polished many surfaces, and tried my best to be unseen. The days were long and the work was hard. I woke up early each morning before the sun and worked until late evening. My hands often hurt from scrubbing and lifting, but I always thought about my mother. Earning money for her was the most important thing. I was just a maid, and he was the owner. Our worlds were very different. I knew I had to remember that difference every day. I was there to work, not to be seen or heard. This was my new life, and I accepted it fully. 2. A kind man. For many weeks, my life in the mansion was a simple routine. Every morning, I woke up early. I cleaned the big rooms. Then I ate my food in the staff kitchen. At night, I went to sleep. I moved quietly, trying to be invisible as my job required. Sometimes I saw Mr. Carl. He was always busy on his phone or computer. He never smiled. He looked serious, but I thought he looked lonely. He had a big house and much money, but his eyes did not seem happy. He was often alone in the large, quiet rooms. This made me feel sad for him. One afternoon, I was cleaning his library. This room was my favorite. It had many books from floor to ceiling. I loved books. I saw an old book of poems on a shelf. I carefully picked it up. It looked old and special. I opened it and started to read one page. The words were beautiful. Suddenly, I heard a sound. It was quiet, but it made me jump. My hands moved quickly, and I dropped the old book. It fell to the polished wooden floor. I turned around slowly, my heart beating fast. Mr. Carl was standing in the doorway looking at me. My heart stopped. I was sure he would be angry. I knew I was not supposed to touch his things. I am so sorry, sir, I said. My voice was a whisper. I quickly bent down to pick up the book. He walked closer to me. I closed my eyes, waiting for him to shout, but he did not shout. He reached down and picked up the book himself. He looked at the book. "This was my mother's favorite book," he said. His voice was soft and a little sad. This was his first time speaking to me. Before, he never looked at me. He then looked at my face. He really looked at me for the first time. "It's okay," he said. "It is just a book, don't be afraid." He still did not smile, but his eyes were not cold anymore. They looked a little bit sad, but also a little bit kind. He turned and left the room quietly. I could finally breathe again. That small moment was special. It was our first real conversation, and it changed how I saw him. It felt like he saw me too. 3, a birthday surprise. It was a month later, and it was my birthday. I was 22 years old. No one in the big mansion knew it was my special day. I felt very sad and alone. The large house felt empty to me. I missed my family and our simple life so much. In the evening, I called my mom. I stood in a small garden behind the kitchen. My mom wished me a happy birthday. Her voice was weak, but I tried to sound cheerful. I told her I was fine and the job is good. After the call, I sat on a bench. A tear fell. I felt so alone. A big house could be a very lonely place. The next morning, I went to the kitchen to start my work. On the small staff table, I saw something. It was a little cupcake with one candle. Next to it was a small card. It had only one letter, K. My heart jumped. K for Carl. He knew it was my birthday. But how? Maybe he heard my phone call in the garden. I looked around, but no one was there. I ate the cupcake. It was the best cupcake I had ever tasted. It felt like a small, unexpected gift of kindness. Later that day, I was polishing a table in the hall. Mr. Carl walked by. He stopped. Our eyes met. He gave me a very small, secret smile. I smiled back at him. We did not say a word, but we both knew it was our secret. A cupcake secret. This small moment made the big house feel a little less lonely. I felt like he truly saw me. 4. The secret music. My feelings for Mr. Carl started to grow. It felt strange and a little silly. I was just a maid, and he was a very rich CEO. But after the cupcake and the secret smile, I saw him differently. He was not just a boss. I saw a man who seemed gentle and sometimes very sad. This made my heart feel warm towards him. One night, I could not sleep. The mansion was very quiet. I walked from my small room to get a glass of water. As I walked through the long hallway, I heard something. It was soft music. It was beautiful. The sound was coming from the grand music room. The door was not fully closed. It was open a little bit. I slowly walked closer and looked inside. Mr. Carl was there. He was not wearing his usual suit. He had on a simple shirt, and his hair was a little messy. He was sitting at the big piano. His eyes were closed as he played. The music was full of deep feelings. It was so sad, it made my own heart hurt. He looked so different from the powerful CEO. He was just a man with his music. He looked vulnerable, like he was showing a part of himself he usually hid. He played the last notes of the song. The music stopped, and the room became very quiet. He slowly opened his eyes, and then he saw me standing by the door. My heart jumped. I thought he would be angry. I was watching him, and I was not supposed to be there. I quickly started to say, "I am so sorry, sir," but he stopped me. "Don't go," he said. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I stayed by the door, feeling a little shy. "The music was beautiful," I said again, my voice soft. He looked down at his hands on the piano keys. "It helps me think," he said. Then he looked up at me. His eyes were not cold anymore. They were soft and a little sad. "Thank you, Jazz." He said my name, not the maid or you. He said Jazz. It was the first time he used my name. It felt very special. We just stood there for a long time. The room was quiet, but it felt full of something new. It felt like we were the only two people in the whole world. It was a secret moment, just for us. I felt like I saw a small part of his heart, and I think he saw a little of mine, too. This moment made my feelings for him grow even stronger. 5. A bad visitor. Our small, secret world was perfect. It was a quiet and special time for me and Carl. But this good time did not last. One day, a loud, red sports car came to the mansion. It stopped at the front door. A beautiful woman got out. She looked like a model from a magazine. She wore expensive clothes. She had big, dark sunglasses. This woman was Veronica. She was Carl's ex-fiancée. I had heard the other staff talk about her. They said she broke Carl's heart. Now she was here. She walked into the house without knocking. She acted like she owned the place. "Carl, darling," she called out loudly. Carl came out of his office. He did not look happy to see her. His face was serious. "Veronica," he said, "what are you doing here?" "I missed you," she said. She walked to him. She tried to kiss him. But Carl moved away. He looked uncomfortable. Then Veronica saw me. I was standing nearby, holding a duster. I was cleaning the hall. She looked at me slowly, from my simple shoes to my simple hair. Her eyes were very cold. "And who is this?" she asked Carl, but she was looking at me. "The new help," she asked. Her voice was not polite. "This is Jazz," Carl said. His voice was flat. "Jazz," Veronica repeated my name. She said it like it was a bad taste in her mouth. "Well, Jazz," she continued, "my shoes are dirty from the trip. Clean them." I was shocked. I did not know what to say. I just stood there. Carl stepped forward. He stood between Veronica and me. "Veronica, that is enough," he said firmly. "She is not your personal servant." Veronica laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. "Oh, Carl," she said, so protective of the little maid. She looked from Carl to me, and her eyes were full of suspicion and hate. I knew it then. This woman was going to be big trouble for me. She was like a storm, and that storm was coming right for me. 6. The missing necklace. Veronica stayed at the mansion. She said she was there to fix things with Carl. But all she did was make my life difficult. She made messes for me to clean. She spoke to me like I was an animal. I tried to stay away from her, but the house was not big enough. It felt like she was always there, watching. The worst part was watching her with Carl. She was always touching his arm, trying to get his attention. Carl was polite but distant. He did not seem happy to have her there, but Veronica did not see it. Or maybe she did not want to see it. She acted like they were still in love. One evening, Carl was having a small dinner party. Veronica was there, of course. She wore a beautiful diamond necklace. It sparkled brightly under the lights. She talked and laughed very loudly. I was helping serve the food. I tried to be invisible, as always. But I could feel her eyes on me all night. She watched my every move. I could also feel Carl's eyes on me. Our small, secret glances were full of tension now. It felt like a storm was coming. The next morning, there was a very loud scream from Veronica's room. It was early, just after sunrise. Mrs. Gable and I ran quickly to see what happened. Veronica was standing in the middle of her room. Her face was red with anger, and she looked very upset. "It's gone," she screamed, her voice high and sharp. "My diamond necklace, it's gone." She looked right at me. Her eyes were full of fire. "It was her. I saw her looking at it all night. The poor little maid wants to be rich," she shouted. Mrs. Gable looked at me, her face full of worry. She knew I was a good worker. But Veronica's words were strong. Other staff members came to the door. They all looked at me. Their faces showed surprise and doubt. "I didn't take it," I said. My voice was shaky. "I would never do that. I am not a thief." Veronica pointed a finger at me. Her hand was shaking with anger. "Search her room. You will find it. She is a thief." Then Carl walked in. He heard the noise and came to see. He saw Veronica screaming and me crying. He saw all the staff looking at me. Everyone looked at him. He was the master of the house. He needed to decide. "What is going on here?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. It was quiet in the room. Veronica ran to him. "Carl, darling, the maid, she stole my necklace," she cried, pointing at me again. He looked at Veronica. Then he looked at me. His face was a mask. I could not see what he was thinking. His eyes showed nothing. My heart was breaking into many pieces. I waited for him to believe her. I waited for him to say I was a thief. 7. The truth is found. Carl looked at Jazz for a long time. She saw the doubt in his eyes. This feeling was very painful for her. Her whole world felt like it was breaking apart. The man who had shown her kindness, who had given her a small cupcake, the man who played the piano with a sad heart, now believed she was a thief. Big tears rolled down her cheeks one by one. "Jazz," he said, his voice was very, very quiet. "Did you truly take the necklace?" Jazz shook her head slowly. She tried to speak, but no words came out. A large lump was in her throat. She could not make a sound. She just looked at him, her eyes wide. Her heart begged him to see the truth, to understand she was innocent. He looked from Jazz's tear-filled face to Veronica's. Veronica had a small smile on her lips. It was a smile of victory. She clearly thought she had won this fight. But when Carl saw that cruel smile, something inside him changed. His face became different. His eyes became sharp and focused, like a person solving a mystery. He turned to Veronica with a firm voice. "Where did you last see the diamond necklace?" "It was on my dresser. I put it there before I went to sleep last night," she said very quickly, almost too quickly. Carl walked slowly around the room, looking carefully. He looked at the dresser where Veronica said she left it. He looked in the trash can. Then he walked to Veronica's open suitcase. It was lying on the floor. Her clothes were thrown messily inside. Very slowly, he reached his hand inside a small, hidden pocket of the suitcase. He pulled out the expensive diamond necklace. It sparkled in his hand. The room became completely silent. Everyone who was still watching held their breath. Veronica's face changed fast from pale white to bright red. I don't know how that got there," she stammered, her voice shaking. "I do know," Carl said, his voice now cold like ice. "You are a liar, Veronica." He looked at her with great dislike. "You would hurt an innocent person, a good person, just to get my attention. Now take all your things and get out of my house, right now." Veronica opened her mouth to argue, but the hard look on Carl's face stopped her words. She quickly grabbed her bag and ran out of the room, almost tripping. The other staff members who had been watching left the room quietly. Soon, it was just Jazz and Carl standing there. The diamond necklace lay on the table between them. He turned to Jazz. The sadness in his eyes returned. "Jazz," he said, his voice filled with deep regret. "I am truly sorry. I am so very sorry that I ever doubted you, even for a moment." But for Jazz, the damage was done. Her heart was still broken into many pieces, even with his apology. The hurt was deep inside her. 8. A new start? Jazz felt very sad. Carl's doubt had hurt her deeply, more than any unkind words Veronica had said. It made her feel like she was just a maid, easy to suspect and easy to forget. That night, Jazz decided she could not stay in the mansion. She packed her small bag with all her few belongings. She wrote a short, simple letter for Mrs. Gable, the kind housekeeper, and left it on her bed. Jazz wanted to leave quietly, like an invisible mouse, through the back door of the big house. She walked down the grand staircase for what she thought would be the very last time. But when she reached the great hall, Carl was waiting for her. The lights in the hall were low, making long shadows. "Please don't go," he said to her, his voice soft but clear. Jazz looked at the polished floor. She could not look at him directly. "I cannot stay here, sir," she said softly, her voice shaking a little. "Don't call me sir," Carl said. He walked closer to her, closing the distance between them. "My name is Carl." "You are not a thief, Jazz. You are Jazz. You are the special person who saw that I was very lonely. You are the person who loves books just like me. You have the kindest eyes I have ever seen in my life." Jazz looked up at him slowly. She saw a shimmer of tears in his eyes. "I was a fool, Jazz," Carl said. His voice was full of deep regret. "Veronica made me forget who I truly was inside. You, Jazz, you helped me remember. Please, can you find it in your heart to forgive me?" He took another step, now standing very close to her. "This job is not right for you," he said gently, his voice full of care. "So, I am asking you to quit your job here." Jazz's heart felt heavy. She thought he was simply firing her, ending their connection. She felt a wave of disappointment, even though she was ready to leave. "But," Carl continued, and he held out his hand to her, a gesture of hope, "I am also asking you something else, something very important. Will you have dinner with me tomorrow evening, not as my maid, as Jazz?" Jazz looked at his outstretched hand. Then she slowly looked into his eyes. She saw Carl, not the powerful CEO, not the master of the big house, not the man who had doubted her. She saw just a man asking a woman for a new chance, a new beginning for them both. Slowly, Jazz put her hand into his. His hand was warm and strong, a comforting and firm promise. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely a sound, but full of new hope. "Yes, Carl, I will have dinner with you." Carl smiled. It was a real, happy smile that made his whole face bright and full of light. He took her hand gently and led her towards the giant front door of the mansion. He opened the door wide. Together, they walked out of the grand house and into the cool, quiet night air. It was not the end of Jazz's old job. It was the true start of their new story, a story they would write together, outside the mansion walls.